Uncover and Elevate is the next evolution of Liberate Your People Pleaser. I'm Brenda Florida, certified life coach, and after coaching hundreds of clients, I am unapologetically clear on this. People pleasing is a symptom with a deeper cause. Being in a toxic relationship or career and feeling trapped has a deeper cause. Avoiding difficult conversations has a deeper cause. Self-sabotage, imposter syndrome, confusion, feeling insecure, all have a deeper cause. In Uncover and Elevate, we are going to look under the hood every week to uncover what the deeper causes are that shape our lives, including the ones that make breaking a pattern, even one we want to break, so hard. Then we will elevate our lives with tools designed to transform those deeper causes and deal with the symptoms. Join me each week as we uncover and elevate our lives. And now, here's this week's episode of Uncover and Elevate. All right, everybody, let's uncover and do some elevating on the topic of fear today. So this is such a great topic because fear comes in so many shapes and sizes. And of course, there are times when fear is absolutely there to serve us. And then there are a lot of times that fear does not serve us and it gets in the way of us being the confident badass that we want to be, or to take a risk that part of us really wants to take, but then we just get too fearful. Maybe it's about leaving that corporate job, or even this happens to especially women. But it can happen to men too, often, where they stay in relationships that are emotionally abusive or even physically abusive, or at least emotionally unfulfilling anymore, right? The relationship just isn't a good fit anymore. And yet they're too fearful because of financial impact or the imagined impact it might have on their children if they have them, whatever it is. And so the fear of that keeps them in a relationship that is not healthy and helping them thrive anymore. So all of us have been there. We all know what it's like to be afraid. It's very easy to remember a time when we were afraid of something. And so I want you to think about your relationship with fear. And I want you to think about these ideas that have been talked about in social media and, various ways culturally about fearlessness. I think over the last, 5 or 10 years, something, there's been a big move, a lot of talk about being fearless as if that is the goal. And I want to say, I do not think fearlessness is the goal. I do not want to be fearless, because fear can be a great teacher. And I'm going to say, hold on, wait for it. This might surprise you. I'm going to say fear is a great teacher, whether it's the kind of fear that keeps you from running out on a busy highway, the kind of fear that keeps you from putting your hand on a hot stove, or the kind of fear that may not even serve you, the kind of fear that keeps you stuck in that relationship, stuck in the job, afraid to set a boundary, whatever it is, afraid to ask for a promotion, afraid to start your own business. Oh my goodness, so many people who have a great passion for something, even a calling, and yet they're afraid to actually be in business for themselves. So I'm going to say, no matter what that fear is, it is your teacher. Because, of course, the fear that legitimately protects us, we always want to learn from that. Oh, okay, hot stoves are not a good idea to put our hands on. Oh, okay, running out in traffic, not a good idea. How about not, I don't know, walking down a dark alley, whatever it is, that fear is telling you this isn't safe for you. Or how about, oh, here's a better one that's can be a little tricky. You meet someone and just get a weird vibe off of them that you don't like. But then someone else is like, oh, I think they're awesome. Or they're a speaker at an event you're at, or they're a leader in your company or in your church or organization or whatever. And so they're quote unquote supposed to be great people, a great person, but you just got a bad vibe off of them. That kind of fear of that person probably needs to be listened to, because you could be picking up on something that other people are missing because they're putting that person in a place of authority, or they're not questioning, or they are dismissing the vibe that they're picking up on, or they're so out of touch with their own energy they don't even get a vibe off of them, right? So that can be like, ooh, okay, I at least want to proceed with caution. I don't want to, sort of wrongly or erroneously assume something about somebody that I don't know yet, but I'm not going to ignore this feeling that makes me sort of, you might not use the word afraid, but gives you that kind of, ooh, I'm not sure. That person gives me the creeps, or something about them doesn't seem quite right. Then I'm going to stay tuned into that as I get to know them better to see if in fact that is the case. And maybe if I don't need to, I'm not even going to bother getting to know them better, right? But if it's somebody you have to engage with, you're not going to just set that fear aside and dive in head first. You're going to pay attention to that. So that fear is there to teach you something, to show you something. And I would say that our fear is also there for us to learn from, even when it's trying to hold us back from something that would really be in our highest good. And what it's trying to show us there is the next piece of inner work we have that needs our attention, that needs some liberation, that needs uncovering and then elevating. So first, let's talk about a couple of myths about fear. One, I've kind of mentioned them, but this idea that fear is bad, like fear is always limiting, something like that we should be fearless if we were really, being our best selves. So none of that is true. You and your best self still need to be afraid of putting your hand on that hot stove. And there are reasons that we have this fear instinct. It's a survival instinct. So it is not to be dismissed. There could be, plenty of reasons why that fear or fight or flight could kick in when you're getting ready to make a decision or make a big move of some sort, or an investment or whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with the fear itself. So the idea that fear is like a negative emotion, right? Which I don't even like the term of, but we all know what I mean by that. So I like it better to think of things as uncomfortable and comfortable than positive and negative in a lot of ways, because there's nothing negative about any emotion that you have. And there's nothing negative really about fear. The question is, can I make a decision that is in my highest good with or without it? Because when it shows up to say, let's say you're going to quit your job and start a business. And so you have a lot of fear over your finances. You have a lot of fear over taking that big leap, over starting something new. Okay, so there's that fear shows you some things to look at. Okay, so that's great. So the idea that the fear is the problem is a myth. Fear is not a problem to be solved. To me, it's something to look at and then discern whether or not this serves me, and kind of what is it trying to show me? What does it want me to see about myself or about a situation. So maybe it causes me to get a little extra cushion in my savings account before I go launch my business. Or maybe it causes me to reevaluate and realize I have enough money in my savings account, because nothing is guaranteed, whether I keep a job or start a business. And the fear is showing me where I am caught up in a mindset of scarcity. Oh, super awesome. Thank you, fear. Now I can see that that fear was triggered by scarcity. And I know scarcity is not a place I want to live in. That's not where my best self is making decisions from. So thank you, fear. You helped me to see that. If my fear is causing me to have anxiety and worry about the future, then thank you, fear, for bringing me back to the present moment, because I'm fearing something that's happening in the future. And I realize, boom, okay, nothing in the future has happened yet. So I don't need to be fearful about that now. And that being tuned in to your feeling of fear, being aware of that feeling of fear, can be the very thing that brings you back into the present moment. So I would love to undo this idea, the biggest myth, I suppose, that fear is somehow the problem. Fear is not the problem. Fear is showing you what you need, like maybe more information on, or to show you that you went off track and got into the future, or you're stuck in the past over something that happened, in the past that you're reliving over and over. Okay, well, the past is over too. And so that event is over. So I don't need to relive it. I don't need to relive the feelings of it. I don't need to relive the images of it, because it's done. So the question arises sort of like, so when can we trust fear? So I think the best way I can describe this is that you're going to trust that fear has come up to show you something. And then at that point, you have to discern. And this is where, coaching helps so much. I do it with my coaches or business mentors, whatever it is. I do it with clients all the time to discern, is this a fear that I want to follow, like not putting my hand on a hot stove, or because it's just warning me about something that's not going to be good for me? Or is it a fear that's holding me back? And if so, then what is that lesson? What's the kind of antidote to it? Because I don't want to muscle through fear. I don't want to just exactly jump in anyway. What I want to do is start to deflate the fear, or take the power out of the fear, because the fear is not the problem. It's if it's showing you you're in scarcity, or if it's showing you you have a belief that you're not worthy, if it's showing you that you have a belief that you actually can't be loved, or you are unlovable, or something like that, then hallelujah, thank you, fear, for allowing me to see that that old belief, which is untrue, is influencing me in this decision I'm about to make. I was going to go get on a dating site and start dating again. And then I had all these fears that, oh, maybe it wouldn't be safe, and I'd meet some, creepy weirdo, or we'd go out and then he'd stalk me, like our mind will make up. And social media and the media and friends will tell us all sorts of reasons to be afraid of online dating, right? Just to pick a topic. And so I can say, okay, let me look at that fear. Does that feel like the truth to me? Should I be afraid of online dating? Now, I'm not going to be judgy about this here in our podcast. That may feel very legit to you in which case online dating is not for you. Don't you trust that? Don't push past that. If it feels a little bit more like a smoke screen, like there might be something else behind that. Maybe it's really not that I'm afraid somebody's going to stalk me, or I'm going to meet some creep and not know what to do or whatever. Actually, what it is I'm just afraid to be in a relationship. I'm afraid of being vulnerable, of intimacy, of, that feeling of being unlovable, all those kinds of things. So there could be many things that your fear could be showing you in a limiting belief, which is why it's telling you it's too scary to go and do any online dating. So in that case, so we've uncovered that the fear is just kind of a smoke screen for the truth, which is that you're avoiding something else, or a limiting belief has kicked in. And then great, now we can go work on those and elevate those so that that fear can be neutralized, and you can go into dating, whether you do it through an online app or you do it in some other way, from a place of confidence. And it still may be scary in a way, right? Like, just because we sort of uncover and elevate doesn't mean the fear always goes away. Sometimes it does. Sometimes that will be enough to sort of dissipate it and settle it down. But sometimes we're still afraid. I've done a lot of things that I know were in my highest good, but I was still, afraid when I did them. I still have fear about it, whether it was leaving relationships or leaving jobs or moving across the country or whatever. I mean, yes, I wanted to do it. Yes, it was my choice. Yes, I was excited about it. And I was also fearful about it. So I think that's, the sort of point I'll wrap up on here today for our episode, is that, excuse me, your confident, badass self can shine with or without fear. It doesn't need that fear to go away. You don't have to wait for that fear to go away. You just remind yourself that it's not true, that you've considered what it came to show you, and you've decided you're going to go for it anyway. Sort of take the metaphor of a roller coaster. And we're going to assume now, even though there are occasionally mishaps or accidents on roller coasters, for the most part, these things are very safe. Hundreds of people, thousands of people ride them every day, and there's no incidences, right? But it's scary. Up the big hill, down the big hill, really fast, whatever. But I can decide I'm going to go because I feel like this is safe and I'm going to be okay. And I think it's going to be fun, even though I'm afraid. So you don't have to wait. I think we get this idea that we have to wait until we have our fear, totally taken care of, whatever that means, that we don't have any more limiting beliefs, that, oh, I have no scarcity now, and so I am in full abundance and do this, this, and that. No, we don't have to wait. We can, this is where the as if comes in. And in a way, it's kind of fake it till you make it, I suppose. But I think when it's intentional, when we do it, when we say, hey, listen, I am intimidated to quit my job, or fearful, whatever word you want to use, to quit my job and start my business. And I am doing it anyway, because I feel like that is in my highest good. I feel like that's where I'm going to thrive. I feel like that's where, my next great move is, or to leave this relationship, or to start dating, or to, get my body more healthy and more fit and more vital, whatever it is. It doesn't mean you won't be afraid. It just means you decide whether or not it's in your best good. You look at what, sort of limiting belief or collective belief that your fear is wanting you to notice. Have I bought into scarcity? Am I in some sort of limited thinking? Oh, okay. Thanks, fear, for showing me that. Now, I don't want to make decisions from there. So let me neutralize that. A lot of mindset work here is really what we're talking about, and move into a place where I can make a decision without that limiting belief. So again, the fear just kind of gets set aside a little bit, and I work with the limiting belief that it stirred up. And once I can get that neutralized, of course, you probably, many of you know, if you've listened to me very long, my favorite beginning to neutralize a limiting belief is the question, is it true? Is it true that I will fail if I leave my job and start my business? Is it true I will run out of money? Is it true I'll never fall in love again? I'll be alone the rest of my life. Like, we make these huge statements about our lives that if we make this decision, the fearful outcome will be, and we have no idea that that's the truth. Lots of other people have done it and had a different outcome. So, that question of, is that really true? Is it like absolutely 100% no other option? That will a lot of times help us sort of crack that door open to get out of that limiting belief. Because once we start to realize, wait a minute, that's not true. Let me go find somebody who has done this, or, some other thing that inspires me to realize, even if I'm the first person, there's a possibility for it. We live in a universe of infinite possibilities. And that's what we want to tap into. Fear can come and go. We want to learn from it, use it to help us get further along in our journey, and then not allow it to stop us from something that feels like it's in our highest good. So with that, I am going to let you all go. And of course, I would love to hear if you have a fear that you can't quite shake, or something around this topic that you would like to share with me. I always love to hear from you guys. So I love it when you post a comment on the site that you're watching this podcast on, or you go to Instagram, Brenda Florida Coach, and DM me. Ask me a question, whatever it is. I am an open book, and I would love to hear about how you perceive this dynamic of fear after listening to this episode. If you had any, sort of ahas, or you can see these distinctions and discernments that I'm talking about here, because fear, for most of us, I think, unless we become enlightened masters, is never going to go away completely. So it's cultivating this relationship with it where it serves you instead of holding you back, because that's what we are all about here on Uncover and Elevate. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Uncover and Elevate. Check out the show notes for tons of great information and resources, like if you're interested in being a guest on the podcast so we can uncover and elevate an issue in your life, just complete the form in the show notes. You can follow me on Instagram at Brenda Florida Coach. You can work with me one-on-one or get additional information about one of my group or private retreats by completing the form in the show notes. And I would love it if you would share this episode on social and tag me. I'd also love for you to post a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. It makes such a big difference and will help others find the show, and I'll be incredibly grateful. This is Brenda Florida, Certified Life Coach, and I'll see you in the next episode of Uncover and Elevate.